Morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the last 1%. And what we're talking about is the last 1% of a trauma that has persisted for forever, where you've done tons of work and there's just this tiny little bit left, and it seems that often takes more time and more energies to route it out. But we're going to have a conversation about that this morning. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub your hands together. Feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, and the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Bernadette. So good to have you here with us this morning. It's wonderful to start the day with you and everybody else who's joining us. Bernadette says, good morning, need this today. Well, let's talk about the last 1%. When I do work on myself, I muscle test. And one of the guideposts that I use is the percentage that's remaining, because I typically want to get to being 100% or where there's zero charge on the issue. And what I find pretty consistently is that I'm in the 98, 99 percentile range of release. There's like 1 or 2% or a fraction of a percent that remains. And what I've noticed historically, which is really wild, is that sometimes it takes days to clear that remaining 1%. And I think it's easy to overlook those elements, and also what characterizes that 1% is that it's nuanced. It's nuances of the issue, the trauma. So I've discovered this also in the past several days, or rediscovered it, is that there's an issue that has resurfaced that when these things arise, I say that they're arising because they're ready to be healed. But this is something from when I was 17 years old. It was in ages and ages ago, believe me. And it was a major trauma. And it's been so surprising to me to recognize the level of grief and abandonment and despair that was around this situation. I had met somebody and we connected so deeply, so deeply, immediately. And then within a month of our meeting, this person was dead, and I was bereft. I had, like, for years and years later, like decades later, I was at a good morning, Atasham. Welcome. I hope I didn't destroy the pronunciation of your name. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us. We're talking today about the last 1% of trauma and clearing it, and how oftentimes it's invisible to us. So this has been invisible to me for years and years, and I've done a lot of work around this issue. But anyway, wow. Well, welcome from Pakistan. So in this particular situation, what has come up for me is, whatever really deeply entangled and buried remnants there were around this. And what I've discovered is the profound grief that still was there, and issues around abandonment. And obviously this seed, this remaining 1%, has shaped my life and shaped my relationships with other people. And so the sense of loss and aloneness, isolation, all kinds of oh, I was saying, years later, I went to a workshop, and there was someone there who did aura readings, and she read my aura, and she said that there was this young man who was there, and what he said to me is it was an accident, and that he had been with me all these years. So, for me, it was confirmation that it wasn't just magical thinking, that we had this deep, profound connection, that he had been with me for years and years. And anyway, it's just come up again. And it made me think about this last 1%, to be clearing it, and also understanding that 1% might not even be accessible at all times. It may take clearing a whole bunch of other stuff to get down to that root cause. But what we want to do is to make sure that, or to be alert to bringing our attention and our healing to the deepest depths, to that last 1%. And it's that 1% that holds a pattern in place, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, we can transform a lot, and we can find a lot of relief with the other 99%, but it's the last 1% that is the completion, that is the closure, the absolute closure. And what I've noticed is that as I'm dealing with this, it's a matrix. So it's there's the element of grief that we get to heal. There's the element of abandonment. There's the element of other parts that may be unnamed, that might elude us consciously. The muscle testing for me has been a profound gift, to be able to measure what's happening, to get feedback around what's still there. But it's very interesting to me. It's kind of like, Bernadette says, for the Matrix, did you take the blue pill or the red one? Do you have to ask, Bernadette? Do you have to ask? So The Matrix is one of my favorite movies of all time, because it's so much in alignment with the way that, for the most part, the way that I believe that things really exist. I don't know about the humans being batteries, but the rest of it, is so much in alignment. Anyway, this whole thing, I have to say, it's kind of blowing my mind that it's coming up again, with the intensity that it is. It's funny, odd, that the emotions so many years later can be just as raw and just as real and just as present and deep. And they're subsiding. So the thing about the 1%, it's like going on a journey and almost getting there. Thank you, Atasham. I appreciate that. But it's like going on a journey and turning around just before you get to the destination. You where you just sort of figure, okay, I've gone far enough, but you didn't get to where you wanted to go. So anyway, I'm hoping that you have tools. Tapping can be a wonderful, wonderful tool, but tools that you can use to calibrate for yourself what is still present for you around a situation, and to really, really give yourself the gift of clearing something completely. Good morning, Robin. Welcome. We're talking about the last 1% of trauma, and how without clearing completely, that 1% can wreak all kinds of havoc. It's what's holding. It may be holding by a thread, but it's still holding it in place. It just reminded me of when I was a kid and losing teeth, where you have a loose tooth and it may be holding on by a thread, but it's still in there and it's still creating all this havoc until that tooth comes out, right? Until it's fully out. And so there's a rigor that we get to apply that goes way beyond just good enough, because good enough allows us to function. But it doesn't necessarily allow us to thrive to our fullest capacity. Oh, Bernadette, it sure feels that way. Bernadette says, is there ever trauma that just won't leave because it's embedded in the soul? Well, I don't know. And I believe that we can heal soul trauma. I think this was soul trauma. I think that, this person and I have been connected on so many different levels. I mean, the power of our connection in the space of our meeting, like from the moment we met, it was electric. And, it wasn't, we were just friends. It was a platonic relationship. He was involved with somebody else. And he actually had said that the only way he would be free is if he could go so far away that he could never come back. And then he died. And he was just a kid. He was 23 years old. I was 17. And so it's such an interesting story, right? It's one of these, yeah, yeah, definitely heartbreaking, Bernadette. It's one of these kind of epic type stories. And so I think that we do get to heal, and maybe it is those soul traumas that are the most important ones to heal. To allow ourselves to feel what's there so that we can heal it, because we want to be able to move past it, right? We want to be able to say, okay, that's done. That was a long time ago. That was almost half a century ago for me. And to find out that it's still so active, or that it's been so active, was quite an awakening. And so I think we get, and I see this with my clients a lot, where something from their childhood has shaped their whole lives, that has just completely dominated their experience. So Bernadette says, can we forgive and yet hold the trauma? Yes, absolutely. Because there wasn't anybody, well, it's interesting as I'm thinking about it. Maybe I didn't forgive God for that. But I think that it not all trauma has to do with forgiveness. We can still feel the abandonment. We can still feel the pain or the grief, even though we've forgiven any trespasses. We can still feel the sense of violation, perhaps, or the fear. So all of those things call for healing, all of them, and on so many different levels. So what I was saying is that as I started first um, dealing with abandonment, and then what unfolded after that was a grief that I hadn't even realized was still there, and other emotions are emerging as these first emotions are clearing. So the thing about trauma, the thing about pain, is that there are so many dimensions to it. And we also often have an attachment to the pain, to the identity, the loss. We were talking yesterday about how it becomes our life story, so I often say it's so important to Robin says, I'm unable to see comments this morning. Bernadette says, can we, I think we may be missing some comments. I don't know why. I see your comments, Robin. Yesterday was so weird. I didn't, was it yesterday or the day before? I didn't see any comments at all. Anyway, I think I lost my train of thought here. The nuance of all the different emotions. It's sort of a matrix of emotions. Going back to that thought of the matrix, it's an interweaving of all different pillars that are propping something up, and we take them out. It's like pickup sticks, we take them out one by one until the remainder of the trauma just releases and collapses. So Robin says the memory, although make the choice to remind yourself you have forgiven the memory. So I think that's in response to Bernadette's question, can we forgive and yet hold the trauma? So my mind is just funneling back through some of these memories, and all the other emotions that may play into this, that Bernadette says she doesn't see your comments, Robin, either. I don't know why that would be. Anyway, when we look at trauma, I think a clue to get us to the last 1%, there may be call for forgiveness. There may be an element of grief. There may be an element of shock. There may be decisions that we made about ourselves as a result of that trauma. There may be the way that other people played into it, and the secondary trauma. So there were elements of that for me with this as well. Let's see. So Bernadette says, I want a game of Jenga to break those traumas because some keep coming back different from the past emotions involved. Yeah, so I don't know Jenga. I've heard of it, but I don't know the game. But maybe, I don't know if it's pieces that are all fitting together to build something. So the thing is that we can heal elements of a trauma without getting the whole thing. And I think that just deconstructing a trauma to look at, well, where were all the aspects from? What were all the complexities of the emotions that were part of it? If we can look not just at what's there superficially, because there are secondary wounds that occur. For instance, let's say you had an experience and then were really, really depressed, and then other people interacted with you around your depression in ways that were also traumatizing. So those things come into play, and then self-judgment about our response. Good morning, Rosalind. So good you could join us. We're talking about getting the last 1%, clearing the last 1% of trauma. Bernadette says building blocks, and you remove one at a time, and hopefully it doesn't crash. Well, that's for the game of Jenga. Well, in this case, we hope that it does crash, right? Because ultimately, when we get enough of those pieces, the trauma does go away completely. But those pieces are often, there are other pieces stacked on top of them, and getting down to the roots of it are really, really challenging. Robin says, all of the words you just spoke apply. Reach out to a friend or talk to your highest self to find comfort. You survived. Yes, exactly. We survive. We're typically quite good at surviving, even in the face of what seems impossible odds. And then we carry the burden of what it is we survived. And so this is talking about how we can relieve ourselves of those burdens, how we can address all the nuances, because it's pretty deep, it's pretty complicated. It's like the many, many faces of a crystal. And it's interesting to see how things, we've talked about the spiral of evolution and how we keep coming around and revisiting issues that we've already dealt with. And I think that this is really more of an explanation of what's going on there with those issues that we keep revisiting, is that there's another facet that we missed, like there's another element of it. Bernadette says kaleidoscope. I think so. I think that that's actually a really good, powerful way to think about it. And so it takes some investigation, and the truth is that we're more capable of perceiving those nuances at different times in our lives. There may be a nuance that just completely escapes us because we're still admired in that in other elements of our lives. And so untangling these things is really quite an adventure. And I'm finding all these threads that are connecting to so many different things. It's really been very, very interesting. And I'm utterly fascinated by it. So Robin says, reverse the self-chatter, bring positive words to yourself to jump the bump along your journey. Yes. And well, I think that the positive words are really powerful. And I think it's really important to not use them to do spiritual bypassing, because many of us have become very skilled at redirecting our attention, redirecting our being, redirecting our presence to say, okay, I'm not going to feel that, I'm going to feel this instead. And the thing is, that's a really powerful and wonderful skill to have. And it doesn't necessarily make the underlying trauma go away. It just is a coping mechanism. And that underlying trauma still has its impact. It still shows up in life by the circumstances that get presented for us to then overcome or redirect. So it's both of each, as I used to say as a little kid, both and, but I used to say both of each. So my mom reminded me of that yesterday. It was funny. Anyway, do the due diligence to look at all these different elements of a trauma to see, how did it impact your relationships with people? How did it impact your relationship with yourself? How did it impact your story about who you are? Or how you fit into the world. And those kinds of questions can help you discover tentacles of the trauma that might have otherwise remained hidden, that you can then route out and heal. So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you all to check out the other wonderful programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN, One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. Bernadette says, thanks for the different perspective today. Have a wonderful day, everyone. See you tomorrow, if possible. I so appreciate all of you and your engagement in these conversations and your willingness to do the work. And it's a privilege and a pleasure to be able to share this time with you. So until next time, So much love to you.